Today, we're going to kind of have some honest discussion about what we are dealing with AI and the fact that it's not going away and that we have to find ways um, to incorporate it or to mitigate its impact on student learning. So, you probably all have a syllabus statement about AI already. This has been in our world for several years. If you've managed to avoid it completely in your syllabus, you're not avoiding it in your interactions with students. But I want us to think about today not so much what the rule is about using AI, but what is the reason for that rule? What are we trying to accomplish with our policies around AI use in the classroom? And how can we use those policies in a flexible way that will allow us to support student learning and not just try to prevent AI use? So we're going to start at the back. We're going to start at the end. What is it that you value about student learning in your classroom? And then we're going to start building your policy from there. And we'll talk about why your policy will need to evolve as AI changes over time. So we go ahead and this is our basic structure. We'll talk about what you need to value in student work. You'll be doing some thinking at that point, so already start thinking about it. We'll explore a framework for deciding where AI fits in your classroom, and then you'll begin to draft some syllabus language and prepare for those conversations with students about AI use. So, to get started, this is really the heart of this whole session. We need to start with thinking about what are the things that you value in student learning. So, think about a student in your course who is an excellent student. What does that mean to you? What are the skills, the capacities, the qualities, the interaction with materials that that excellent student is demonstrating? And once you've identified that, then think about which of those things AI can already do for them and which of those things can't be outsourced. And knowing what the difference is going to be key to developing policies that work for your classroom. There is not a blanket policy. So I'm going to be quiet for 2 whole minutes and let you think about that and see if you can come up with what it is that the excellent student in your course really brings to their learning. Hi, Dr. Ko, you had a question.
It's about AI. I have a mixed feelings and opinions from my colleagues. For example, what's going on in undergraduate education, like chemistry class, students will get all A in their homework assignment. But in midterm and final exam, they tend to get D or E or some F. It
Right.
means when they do homework, they depend on AI, not real study happened. And then when teacher, professor ask questions about their understanding, students are not ready. So
Yes. And
that's
that,
one challenge.
yeah,
Then,
that's why we're here today is to
yeah,
start talking about how do we address those things
yeah.
and how
So
do you break.
in my class from last fall, I started to use ChatGPT in my class. I'm teaching graduate level seminar class. All of my students are, most of them are non-traditional students. They have full daytime job, but they came the night classes and working on their research project about those public policy issues like that. One thing I found is that ChatGPT answers usually provide broader perspective than student perspective. So to me, it's a great teaching tool to
Yes,
deliver
yes. And
my
and
message.
I think that that's an important experience to share. And that we, when we start talking about how do people deal with it in their different disciplines, I think, having those experiences is really useful. And I've had similar experiences. I have a bot that helps my students um, edit their papers, look at their papers rather, be their sort of thought partner. So we will talk about that. I want us to kind of work through this process first, so everybody can get where you are, Dr. Ko. All right. So if you come up with the things that your student can't, that AI can't fake for your students, because Dr. Ko's already told us what AI can do better that can help students. If you would share those with us, you can drop them in the chat. You can unmute and just tell us kind of what are those skills that you see that you want to protect, that you want students to continue to work on as they go through your course. Let's see what we've got here.
I'll,
Yes, Dr.
I'll,
Barner. Mhm.
hi, I was going to say critical self-reflection. A part of our counseling
Yes.
program, students have to engage in some aspect of self-reflection.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's very important. And that AI can't self-reflect for them, right?
It really
All right.
can. I can usually tell when a student has, because I give them assignment of reading reflections, but I can typically tell when it's been like kind of ran through AI versus like when it's coming from the heart.
Yes. Yeah. Craig says reading skills as an English professor, I say ditto. They can tell you what something is about, but they can't tell you what's what it means to them or what words how they got that interpretation, what words they're hanging it on. Karen says she agrees they read information and then they need to decide if the information is evidence based. All right. Anyone else?
Well, just a comment.
Sure.
Classes like where you have a serious mathematics or analytics involved, what I found in my students that they come up with a correct answer, which is a very good thing to have using the AI. At least they understand the contents, how to interpret them correctly. But then reflecting on those contents, that's where I'm struggling in my classes. Been telling repeatedly, and I find a lot of improvements. Telling them how to navigate the contents, how to synthesize your own thought process, and how to reflect using. It requires, I think, more of a professorial interactions after AI. What I found before that. That just a comment through last few months I got.
Yeah, I think that's a terrific point, Dr. Ahmad, that we we now have to change our interactions with students, that the landscape has changed, that it's not just give them an assignment, they go through it, they learn from the process. They are going to need more targeted guidance on how to analyze and think critically, because that's what an excellent student really does. Dr. Wheaton says she values it when students can make connections between something that they have read and how it connects to their experience. Definitely not something AI can do. Um, and then the process that they go through. And as a writer, as someone who teaches writing, um, that is absolutely essential. It's not the final product, it's how do you get to the final product? How do you understand that process and explain it to yourself sometimes? Um, all right. And Claudette says using AI to develop speaking. So you have a chat bot for your students? Is that what you're saying?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, I invite them to use chatbot, to have a virtual person with whom they are extended. So some of them use that tool, to
Yeah.
improve their speaking skills. So
Yeah. I mean, there are many
mm,
great things about using AI, but what we have to do when we think about policies and how to help our students understand how AI can help them learn and not replace learning is to focus on those things. And so a lot of the things that you mentioned, originality, the growth through the process, finding their own voice, their own personal experiences, that's what you want your policy to help protect. So when we talk about policies, and this is a rough guide, this is not meant to be prescriptive in any way. Um, but the policy spectrum kind of falls into three buckets. Um, AI use is encouraged for specific purposes with documentation. This kind of sounds like what Dr. Ko is talking about or Claudine is talking about. AI use is allowed, but only when clearly distinguished from the original work. So maybe you ask students to use it to help them with their brainstorming. And then AI use is not permitted at all, and it constitutes academic fraud or misconduct. So for all of us, we're going to land on different places depending on the assignment. So um, going back to the example Dr. Ko gave us a moment ago, students who are using AI to do their homework, we don't want them to do that, right? Because then they're not getting the practice, they're not getting the process. But if they're in the classroom and you're trying to teach them how to distinguish between useful information and information that's not useful to the question or the problem they're trying to solve, then you might want to encourage AI use, guided AI use. So where do you see yourself on this spectrum? And do you find that different assignments you you are approaching AI in a different way? Um, think that through for a moment. I think that this is really important, that we're not trying to talk about this is the way you do it, but we need to look at each assignment. So maybe your overall syllabus statement says, AI use is assignment specific, and for some assignments it's this kind of use, for others it's this kind. Um, I don't know about you, but I would assume that in your discipline and in your teaching practice, you have kind of general kinds of assignments, maybe homework problems or reflections that they do at the end of a process, or discussion board posts. We all use that a lot. And so you don't have to think necessarily about every single assignment, but every single assignment type. So with a discussion board, what are the things that you may need to think about differently? And this is a decision tree. It doesn't actually look like a tree, it just looks like a list. But for each of your assignments, you need to ask yourself these three questions. Does the assignment address one of my essential learning objectives? And if the answer is yes, then you probably need to redesign it, or moderate the assignment in some way so that the students are not using AI for it the entire time, or not using it in a way that you're unaware of. Or come up with alternative assignments. Because if it's a core assignment for that course, you want to make sure that they're getting that process experience, right? If the answer is no, then maybe you can consider how you would intentionally incorporate AI into the assignment. Um, so can AI complete the assignment and pass it? Um, pass is not an A, pass is getting it done. So there again, if the answer is yes, you're going to have to reassess the assignment. You cannot use the same assignments that you used. I have some great assignments from 25 years ago that I still tweak a little and use. I can't use them the same way anymore. So we have to think about each assignment type, and how do we make sure that we're hearing the student's voice, that the student is getting engaged in the process? Um, and how is AI potentially supporting or undermining their learning, or your ability to evaluate their learning? So Dr. Ko gave us a great example at the beginning, and he talked about AI giving them more perspectives on a topic, right? So you might ask them to reflect on a topic, then in class use AI to reflect on that topic and talk about what they missed, and give them some guidance on understanding what those things they missed mean. We learn more from failure and from not getting things right the first time than we do from sailing through without difficulty. This is a great way to use AI, Gen AI, to incorporate into your assignments to help student learning. So those are things that I want you to be thinking about, but we also need to recognize this. Even if you come up with a syllabus policy and Each assignment has its own sort of AI guidance. Whatever you write today, whatever you write this semester, you'll have to keep revisiting it. AI is changing so fast. The tools are just evolving and growing. Um, and we all know that AI detectors just don't necessarily work the way we want them to. Maybe for a freshman writer, you can obviously tell that there's a problem with the assignment. They didn't write it because of what they're doing in class. But I'll tell you an experiment I did. I took three of my papers from about 15 years ago, three of them that I really liked. I knew that they were pretty good, and I dropped them into a variety of AI detectors. All of the AI detectors said all of my papers that I wrote before Gen AI existed, were AI, at least 70 to 80% AI generated. And what that means is AI is looking for patterns. And if you polish your writing and you follow those patterns, you have a thesis sentence that drives the whole paper. You have topic sentences in your paragraphs. You have evidence that you explain. You tie everything together. That's what AI is looking for. So we can't depend on AI detectors. We have to know our students. Dr. Hernandez, did you have a comment? Dr. Hernandez? No? Okay. Um, okay, so here's the work I want you to do today. First, are you aware of how AI or if AI has changed your discipline out in the field, outside of the academy? What have you seen? What have you heard from colleagues? Let's see, I think I saw Dr. Brown on here, Warren Brown, maybe. Um, I see Dr. Edith Davidson. And Dr. Sharon Simmons. I know all of you are in fields that where what happens at the university is just the beginning, right? Sometimes an English teacher, they think all you're going to do is be a teacher. Let me tell you, K-12 is changing not just the student work, but the way that K-12 instructors use AI is changing. So what have you heard about? What have you seen as changing in your field out in the world, outside of the academy? Dr. Lindstrom says the APA has come out with a strong warning about AI and mental health. Yes, so AI ethics, and bias and the impact of AI on individuals who become attached to their AI agents. Anyone else? Yes, Craig says writing has changed a whole lot. Um, Dr. Davidson says AI is used to generate marketing materials. Yeah, everyone knows it's changing, right? So we have to think about how we help our students prepare for using AI in a way that will help them continue to grow even after they've earned their degree, so that they are learning not just how to do the work, but how to use AI to upskill, to improve themselves. I can't believe I just used that jargon, but to improve their skills and make them valuable when they go out in the workplace. So this is where we begin to draft. I've got about 30 folks in here. I'm going to give you 5 minutes to jot down some notes for yourself about what you value most in student learning. You've already kind of started on that. And where does AI fit into supporting that student learning? Where would it get in the way? Just, put it in your notes app, type it on a document. We're going to go into a breakout room in about 10 minutes and small groups and share what you have. So I'm going to now be quiet. It's very hard for me. Ask me questions in the chat if you have any questions, and work on this, and then we'll move to the next step. All right, as you're finishing those notes, I want you to start thinking about your syllabus statement and consider what would be your overall stance. Are you encouraging it? Are you allowing AI with attribution? Are you not permitting it? Does it vary by assignment? And what do you want, more importantly, what do you want students to understand about your values? That you are not just saying no AI because I hate AI, but here are the things that I want you to learn. Here's why I want us to work together to improve your learning with AI as a guide or an assistant. So I'll give you about, say, 4 minutes for that and create the breakout rooms while I do that. All right, I'm going to, I've created the breakout rooms. I'm going to open them in just a moment. Um, there should be 3 or 4 people in each room. Go around oops, sorry. There we go. Go around, share your policy, just the gist of it, not the whole policy, and a student question or pushback that you're anticipating about the policy. As a group, think about what's the hardest question that you have to answer about those student questions. So I'll give you a 1 minute warning. When you run out of your 6 minutes, it's a lot to do in 6 minutes. So go ahead and jump in those rooms. If you need any help, let me know. Hi, Dr. Pandya. I feel like you should be leading this session.
I'm still learning. I think it's better off if you do. Nice to see you.
It's good to see you. So were you caught mid conversation? I like that. It means that you're sharing ideas. It's great.
I was too loud, I guess.
So, what I love the Zoom sessions. We're able to connect to a lot of people, but what's really most useful is talking to each other and finding out what other folks are doing. So after the session is over, I'll share some resources, some sample syllabus language from other universities. That'll all be on our website, and I'll make sure you have the link. But I think the best thing you can do is, keep in contact with folks that you talk to in these sessions. Share your ideas. We have a AI Canvas shell that Dr. Loretta Moore and Brittany Myberg and Dr. Mosley have set up for sharing things. So, anything that you learn that you want to share, I think that's really how we move forward is together. So tell me, what was the hardest question that came up in your groups? What are the things you worry that students are going to say? Or brilliant ideas you came up with in your groups. That's also great. Dr. Wheaton, you look like you're on the verge of sharing something.
Oh no! Look, and I just realized my mic is unmuted. So this is probably not a hard question, but I guess one that we talked about is if you take this is from Dr. Williams's question. I mean, a situation being in a first year writing course, and the stance that she has, kind of really just wanted to see where the students are on the front end, and so we came emerged that her stance is a no AI policy. So I said, I think the immediate knee jerk question that a student would ask is, well, I'm allowed to use it in all of my other classes, then why is this one different? And that, so you can obviously give them a response, but I do think that's something to consider is if people in the same department or in the same unit even have vastly different approaches, to what students are allowed to do and how they're allowed to use it, I think that can be really complicated.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I think that maybe departments individually need to have serious conversations about what are you doing in your class. I'm going to have the same students. We need to talk about some way to make sure they're getting what they need to prepare for my class if they've been in your class and allowed to use AI. Those are not easy conversations, but they need to happen. What other questions came up that students might ask? I think that's a terrific one.
Well, in our group, a question came up about validating our claim that the paper was written by and AI. So if we suspect that the student used AI to write the paper, how do we talk to the student about that? The student may ask, why do you think I use AI? So how do we talk about that without, coming across as accusing the student, or policing the student? And I think that's especially important for me in the writing center, because I can't say, well, that doesn't sound like you, because I don't really know how the student writes. I may only meet with the student once. So that's a difficult question for me also.
Yeah, no. And there's not an easy answer, certainly not for the writing center, but as instructors, there's not an easy answer. Um, Part of it is designing the assignment so you can see the work progress rather than just handing out the assignment. Um, but even that, if you have a large class, that's going to be really challenging to keep up with who's done what. Sometimes asking them to explain what they've written is a good way to get them to verify or fail to verify that they know what they've written. Sometimes AI will use words or claims that they can't understand or explain. Um, I love Dr. Pandya's question from his group. If AI can help me produce better answers faster, why shouldn't I use it for everything?
The, I can I share one of the
Yes,
incidents we had?
yes,
Last semester we finished class, and just on the final day we received an email from a student, and she almost copied to everybody from the president all the way to whoever she could find. And she started complaining, and one of the complaint was I used an AI thing, and then the professor did that, and then they copied, I mean, accused me, and then of course she has other complaints that my grades were not good, but then she did it to everybody. I mean, that was horrible to see at the conclusion of a semester after your hard work and then being displayed like that, and then she named the professor and the project and why. So I think from a university side, there got to be and see, especially the undergrad students, sometimes these students are, they get frustrated very quickly, and
yes,
but at the same time, you got to understand while you are maintaining, one of the big major challenge I find, especially undergrad classes, is to maintain the quality control. Where you want to apply the quality control, then you have the lot of challenges, and one of the challenges is the prevailing culture, where correctly or incorrectly they came up with all kind of things. So I think from a university perspective, there got to be a policy where and again, one where when you said that should we use AI all along, I think there also be a subject based specification. For example, some subjects they have a more useful use of AI compared to other. And then I was sharing my thought. It also led to the more work for the professor. I don't know how you manage that part while you are dealing already with so many other things on top of that, and that may be a discouraging for the faculty. These are some of the
yeah.
thoughts I just wanted to share.
Yes, I think the challenge is even if you can prove that the student used AI, um, how is that going to be handled? What is the university's approach to that? It's cheating, but it's not cheating in the way that we've traditionally thought about it. So having clear policies is important.
And there,
Um,
and I'm sorry, Dr. Kazita,
no,
but
no,
this
go
is
ahead.
Yolanda Horner. I'm actually driving. I'm sorry, but
Oh dear.
I'm headed to the main campus. But there is a policy, of course, outlined by the university. Just the other day, I had an assignment that a student submitted that had about 47% AI. So I told her that I would give her an opportunity to clean it up. And here's the link to the policy. So I didn't want her to feel like I was just accusing her, but here's the policy the university has. So there is a small policy around AI on the website for
Okay, that's
Jackson
great.
State.
That's
Yeah.
great. Yeah, and I think sharing it with students is important. But I think the other challenge is understanding they're going to use it, and you need to be having conversations with them from the beginning about what you want them to learn in this class, what you want them to be able to do, and why it's important. So I'll go back to Dr. Williams because that is my area. Um, that even if you can use AI to write for you, if you don't become a proficient writer, if you don't understand what good writing looks like because you've tried to reach that goal, then you don't know where AI has failed in writing for you. It's good, but it's not perfect. And at some point, it's going to do things that you don't want it to do. But if you haven't learned at least the basics about what an argument looks like, or the incorporation of evidence should look like, you're not going to know it's wrong. And that's one of the ways we catch students, isn't it? Because they they do something that doesn't make any sense. Um, yes, I don't know whose this was, 722-305. Oh, Dr. K. Yes. Um, But the process of introducing AI and AI culture in the classroom is crucial to addressing these challenges. We can't just say no AI. We've got to incorporate it. What you want to add to that?
Yes, I can. And well, in my class and in the School of Lifelong Learning, we have been talking about using AI and forming our own AI policies that, that is corresponding to each class is very, very important because we need to upfront and tell the students the AI is important. It's a great tool to help them learning, but we can't just rely on AI. And one of the problems, well, one of the challenges that we run into with our students, because the students in School of Lifelong Learning are, mostly, well, at least a half of them are non-traditional students. They're juggling a lot of, life challenges and family challenges. So when they come to AI usage, the the thing that put them in a spot is they don't have time. So they don't have time to manage their assignment. So when the assignment is due, the easiest thing, the quickest thing for them to do is to use AI and just copy and paste. So that thing needs to be addressed from the beginning, and it needs to be written in the AI policy how to manage their time and how they can use AI ethically in the classroom is it is what we need to learn. Is what we need to teach our students, and that's one of the reasons I think we should not be replaced because we should always be there to facilitate that kind of learning attitude. Yeah, that's
Yes.
all I want to
Yeah,
share.
I think that's wonderful. Yeah, we don't need to be replaced because we need to help them understand what is it that AI is producing, and how does it align or not align with their own learning, with their own disciplines. So yes, that is a great way to end this part of the discussion. I think you all have some terrific ideas. I hope that going forward, you'll be thinking deeply about what you want to do, not just with your syllabus, but with each assignment. And if you're willing to share, we will create a repository for, assignments. I'm going to send out what we've managed to gather from other universities. Dr. Wheaton shared something from the Spencer Foundation, that the language that they use about using AI in proposals. So there are lots of examples out there, but sharing with each other and what we're doing with our students, I think could be really useful. So think about what is one thing you want to do differently. All right, just to get us out of here before the hour, remember your policy will evolve. This is its strength, not its weakness. And the goal here isn't to catch cheaters, it's to help improve our students' learning. On February 11th, we're going to have another session about when AI can do the assignments. We're going to kind of dig into a couple of specific assignments that are reworked so that they are more AI resistant. If today obviously did raise questions about that. So if you have any questions, we'll have all the resources on the website, a policy framework, some sample syllabus statements, and the recording probably be ready tomorrow because it takes me a minute to get it all up there. Thank
Dr.
you all for
Pizzetta,
joining. Yes.
I have kind of a question dilemma. So this goes back to the statement raised by Dr. Glushko, accusing students of using AI to write. But
I think that's, I mean, I'm not sure there's a simple answer to that, but I think that's kind of what we've been trying to get at today is we have to think differently. Sometimes it is really easy to see that they've cheated.
yeah.
But it's more about not catching them, not the catching them cheat. That's not the question. The question is how do we incorporate AI into their learning and help the students understand that the learning is the goal. Because that's, in my experience, students have always been concerned about grades, but now they can do the work. They can present something and get the grade, but they know nothing at the end of the class if they do that. So it's about helping students understand that we're not just here to help you get the degree, we're also here to help you improve your skills and be successful once you leave the university. You're not going to get to every student. Not every student's going to care about that message, but it's about thinking about that message with each assignment and each semester. How do we together find ways to communicate that to students? So thank you for bringing that up. I think that's a great way to end. Um, I hope you all will be here on the 11th. And if you think of something that you've done that has worked really well, Dr. Ko was talking about what he did. I'm going to follow up with him to see if he can put something in writing for us so we can share it. What are you doing in your class with AI that is working? That would be really helpful to share with each other. So thank you for joining us. And it is on the hour, so we made it. Have a great weekend. See you all soon.